Head on American Black Journal, the musical sound that changed America is celebrating 60 years. I'll talk with the head of the Motown Museum about this milestone anniversary, plus a doll show that celebrates diversity and culture. Stay right there. American Black Journal starts now.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
The DTE Foundation proudly supports 50 years of American Black Journal in covering African American history, culture, and politics. The DTE Foundation and American Black Journal, partners in presenting African American perspectives about our communities and in our world.
Also brought to you by Ally, Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. It's been a big year for Motown. The record label, founded in Detroit by Berry Gordy, is celebrating its 60th anniversary. And Gordy used the milestone occasion to announce his retirement from entertainment. Plus, the building where the magic happened broke ground on a $50 million expansion. Plans call for the Motown Museum to grow to a 50,000 square foot campus featuring interactive and educational experiences. Joining me now is the museum's CEO, Robin Terry. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me,
having
me back.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've been here before. You know the routine. So let's talk about 60 years. That is a little unbelievable.
What
right?
a remarkable celebration and year this has been. You know, I think I think back to where we started at the top of the year, kicking off the celebration of the 60th. I think about, you know, the Grammy celebration, our Founders Day that we hosted with over 1,000 people on the front lawn of Hitsville, the documentary that's come out, and then our big Motown 60 celebration. And it's kind of been a whirlwind year.
Yeah.
You know?
So I was watching the documentary when it came out, and there was something else going on that night, and I can't remember what it was, but there was something else I was supposed to be watching on television, something news related, and I missed it because I could not turn the documentary off. I mean, all of that footage, a lot of it that I hadn't seen before, and I think a lot of people hadn't. But just the story about this really unlikely idea that becomes everything that we know it is today. It's really something else.
I think it really showed that how, you know, the Motown family was truly a family, and it humanized the story. I mean, we know about, you know, the legend of, Berry Gordy and the $800 loan, but this really showed how all of these young people in Detroit came together as family and really created something remarkable. You know, from the music to the impact of that music and the way it resonated around the world. It really gave you a good sense of what was going on in that little house, Hitsville.
Sure. And if you think about it, it's a really great point how young
Absolutely.
they all were.
Average age was 23.
These are really young people taking an incredible chance and doing something that again, just no one expected them to do.
Absolutely. Well, really doing the impossible, right, for that time, to have something, an independent record company emerge out of a Detroit neighborhood, you know, and become the largest manufacturer of RPM records in the world. Like, that's not supposed to be possible, but it was possible in Detroit.
So let's talk about what's going on at the museum, which is the living part of Motown here in the city. You have big plans, and you're raising big money.
We are. That's all true. I mean, truly, the highlight for me when I think about the entire year. It was that moment we broke ground.
Yeah.
You know, having, you know, my uncle here, Barry Gordy here, all of our other supporters, it meant so much to say, this is that moment, this project is real, and this vision is going to come to fruition.
Yeah.
Having the support of our donors. That night we announced $1 million gift from John Rogers, the head of Ariel Investments. And so it really, we had just announced my uncle's gift of $4 million. So it, you know, it just showed that there's so much support for this vision. And it was just very real in that moment.
Yeah.
Really.
So most people watching probably have been to the Motown Museum before, and it's, you know, it's really cool now. But
Yeah.
you are really talking about creating something entirely different with this expansion. Talk about how different it will be and what some of the influences are for that.
So let me start with what won't change, because this would get you lots of, you know, calls and
That's right.
emails.
People
so
saying, "You're
what
getting rid of
won't
that?"
change
That's right.
is Hitsville, USA.
Right.
You know, the crown jewel of Motown Museum. That is why people travel from all over this planet to come to Hitsville.
Yes.
Right? They want to stand in the footsteps of Stevie Wonder and Smokey Robinson and the Miracles and the Supremes. And I mean, that authentic DNA doesn't change. But what the expansion does allow us to do is really activate the inspiration that you get when you come to that space. And so I was talking about, you know, my grandmother, Esther Gordy Edwards, who founded the museum. She really just wanted to make sure that history wasn't lost over time, and that people understood what these young people that we talked about, what they created there and the profound impact they had on the world. So that was good. What we're doing is we're saying, let's build on that. And when people come and they are inspired, let's find a way to connect them to something to elevate their own potential. So if it is a mother or grandmother or that mother or grandmother saying, you know, I want to cultivate my singing or my songwriting, or I'm interested in entrepreneurship, we're going to give them some place to plug in and train and mentor and connect them to industry. And so anyway, it's all about creating opportunity, which is exactly what Motown did in Detroit.
And the scale here, 50,000 more square feet, it seems to reflect, I think, appropriately, the scale of this legacy.
Absolutely.
Not that there's anything wrong with the current museum, but I think you would expect it to be on the scale that you're trying to build now.
Well, I always say, you know, we started by getting the original homes, right? Securing those original homes. And those homes tell an important story about Motown's humble beginnings, the entrepreneurial spirit of Motown. But the story doesn't stop there. And so what the newer construction does is it shows you what rises from that. And, you know, it becomes multi-sensory, multimedia, you know, a music lover's playground, but still, you know, wrapped in this story of Motown and how did the impossible happen on West Grand Boulevard. And that's what everybody wants to know.
Your uncle said earlier this year he is going to retire from entertainment, which also seems impossible.
I don't know what that means.
Right? How is that going to work?
I don't know what that means coming from somebody who has been creative his entire life, you know? But he is in a space in his life where, you know, he's pouring into other people who are making things happen, and he sees himself as a teacher and wants to pass along his wisdom and his lessons learned. And I can say I feel really honored as his great niece to be the recipient of a lot of that wisdom.
Is he going to be more involved maybe in the museum? Is he going to have more time to be connected to
I will tell you what he told me while he was here, because I made the mistake of telling him that there was something I couldn't reach him for. And he said, don't ever say that. He said, you can reach, you know you can reach me whenever you need to.
Right.
And so I say that to say that, you know, he already has tremendous input in creatively what we will bring to this, but we go to him. and we let him, work with the team and give us wisdom and keep us on track.
Yeah. What's the timetable for getting all this done?
It's when we raise the dollars.
Get all the money in place, yeah.
Yeah, and I keep saying that, and people say, Robin, I know it's when but that's real.
Yeah.
We have been successful in raising half the dollars needed, 25 million, which is a tremendous milestone, but we've got a long way to go.
Yeah.
And so, we're looking for partners and people who want to invest in this really unique opportunity to leverage such an important part of our culture and the future.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard to come up with anything really that is more reflective of us as Detroiters and of this city over the last half century than Motown.
I would agree with you.
I mean, what else would we try to build to sort of tell that story, other than something like the Motown Museum?
And something that speaks so loudly about us as Detroiters all over the world.
Yeah.
I think that's what continues to keep me in awe of this legacy, because I meet people who I think should have no connection, and they feel as personal about it as I do, and I'm like, you're from this remote place around the globe. How could it possibly mean so much to you?
Yeah.
But it does.
The music spoke to everybody. Yeah.
It really did. And I think in a really profound way, Motown music did something nothing else could, and that was bringing people together. And people who were very, very different beliefs, different faiths, but somehow this music created a space for them to celebrate together, and that's been reflective of our entire year.
Yeah. All right. Always great to catch up with you.
Always good to be
here. Good luck
here.
on the fundraising for the museum.
Thank you.
Yeah, it'll be a great day when we open that here in Detroit.
Oh, we'll all be there together, hopefully.
Okay, coming up, a show dedicated to dolls of color. But first, here's a 1987 Detroit Black Journal interview with Motown musicians Earl Van Dyke and Thomas Beans Bowles.
Let me see if I can get you to share some memories about some of the people who went on and subsequently became superstars. Marvin Gaye, you had a close relationship with Marvin Gaye, did you not?
Very close, very close. Marvin and I were, well, I guess he kind of respected me for being able to tell him a few things, and he was a young guy, and he was confused. He was doing a lot of things, and he wasn't happy with everything that he was doing. He wasn't pleased with the money he was getting. He wasn't pleased. He wasn't pleased with his life. He had turmoil, and we couldn't pinpoint it at that time. We just said, "Oh, well, he'll be all right," And we kept working because he took all his anguish out in music, and he did a lot of things. But see, he had a fear of the stage. Nobody never knew. He didn't like to perform. He would stay in the studio all the time, but he did not like to go out on the stage. And he definitely didn't like to dance.
True.
He wanted to be a balladeer, and that wasn't selling.
Let me ask you, Mr. Van Dyke, now and we mentioned the Funk Brothers, James Jamerson and Benny Benjamin, and you folk just laid down what became gospel at that time in the 60s. I mean, that was the sound. One of the things that I find interesting in doing the reading that I did, because I read a number of books last year on Motown, was that you all kind of saw yourself as the musicians at that time, and then there were the artists, like you were saying,
right.
Like the Supremes. I mean, there was a difference there in your minds, was there not?
True. That's the only thing I was just wrapped up into the music thing. Now, the funny thing was at the time, Beans and I were working together with the Lloyd Price Orchestra, right? And I will never forget, the first act that I run into was Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. And they came out, and I know we laughed at them. We really did, sincerely, Because we laughed at the music, the way the music was written and everything. But by being professional musicians, what we did was we just took the music and rearranged it so it sounded right. Now, we had a 14-piece orchestra, and maybe they came out there with a 6-piece arrangement.
The 8th annual Detroit Doll Show is coming to town on November 9th. It's billed as the largest show of its kind, featuring dolls of color in a celebration of culture, diversity, and self-love. The entire family will have a doll-lightful time at the Northwest Activity Center. Doll makers from across the country will display their unique creations. Plus, there are going to be doll making workshops, a doll look-alike contest, children's authors, vendors, and entertainment. Joining me now is the founder of the show, Sandra Epps of Sandy's Land LLC, along with two of the doll makers. Coletta Peterson is a crochet doll artist, and Monda Mims creates lifelike baby dolls. Welcome to American Black Journal, all of you.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so excited.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you came back, because this is actually one of my favorite events every year. I think it's very cool, the idea of a doll show, not just a doll show that celebrates dolls as culture, which you do, but you really celebrate the idea of dolls as art. All of the dolls here really are expressions of art.
Yes, they are, especially with the doll artists that we have here today.
Sure.
And that's a wonderful thing to have them on board, so you can see the actual doll artists and their dolls.
Yeah. So tell me about the idea for this. Where did you come up with
Okay,
this?
I wanted to do something to basically make girls happy, make women happy, you know, transform their opinions of themselves, and what better way to see the reflection of themselves in their dolls. But originally, as I stated earlier in our previous interview, it stemmed from me living with lupus and almost dying from lupus. And my self-esteem had horrible self-esteem, but I wanted to do something to transform the girls' minds in terms of how they feel about themselves. What better way to do it than with dolls? Than with dolls. So, you know, fast forward from, you know, childhood and feeling bad, but doing this, you feel good, you know, having dolls that look like you.
Yeah, right. And that's still an issue.
Yes.
Making sure that girls of color have dolls who look like them.
Exactly. It's still an issue, and even when you go to local stores, right now today, you go to your local Targets and Walmarts, and you don't see very many dolls. You will see some sometimes, but sometimes you go into stores and you still, in the Black community, you still don't see dolls of color.
Yeah.
And we got a long way to go, but what we're doing, we're making it happen where people know that we exist, these doll artists exist, and they can purchase dolls that look like them.
Yeah. So let's talk about these dolls that we have here. Let's talk about the crochet dolls, which are amazing in the detail that's involved. I'm looking at the hair on this one here and thinking how long it must have taken to put that all together.
Surprisingly, not long. I made a doll for a friend, and I make patterns as well. And someone was like, "Oh, that doll you made her, where's the pattern?" I was like, I don't have a pattern for it. There was no pattern. And so he is actually the first boy doll that I had to look at the pictures of the doll that I made her and remake him just from sight. The hair reminded me of my nephew's hair. They've got curly little afros, and I wanted to kind of mimic it. And so, you know, the outfit, I find a lot of inspiration from the little kids that I encounter. Is actually an outfit that I'd seen a little kid running around in Ferndale. So.
Wow. And talk about this other gorgeous doll sitting here.
I am a huge nerd.
Yeah.
I love anything sci-fi and alien-like, and just anything that's considered out of this world. And my favorite Disney movie is Atlantis, and so I love the colors of the Kida doll that was of the character Kida that was on there. And so I was like, I think I want to kind of figure out how to make this doll.
Yeah.
Initially, she was not a ballerina. She just had white hair, kind of like a loincloth situation. But as Monda will probably tell you, as an artist, when you're creating, your dolls tend to talk to you. And so she ended up being a ballerina. And so I work with, I do a lot of sci-fi inspired dolls. But much like Sandy said, it's really about, you know, representation and getting kids to understand, you know, finding the beauty in their style, their creativity, their talents. And a lot of my dolls, I try to reflect that in.
Well, I mean, sci-fi is another genre where representation is an issue, right?
Yes,
you go to movies, you read books, there aren't a whole lot of people of color
represented
there.
Absolutely, not at all. Black Panther was a huge movie.
Yeah.
And I'd actually had a request for a Shuri doll.
Oh, you did?
And I wish I had it because I completely freestyled it and it turned out amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And when I shared it on my Instagram, everybody was like, well, can you make me one? I'm like, no. That's literally one of a kind because I can't tell you exactly how I did
what
that.
you did?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you get into crocheting and then sort of merge it with the idea of making dolls?
I lost a job. And I was at home and I had a pity party for one, and my sorority sister called and she was like, okay, you've been moaning for a week. Are you done?
What next, right?
What's next? You have all of this creativity in you. Use it. And a couple months later, a friend called and she was like, hey, I'm having a baby. You've been making scarves and hats. Your family's going to stage a coup. Make me a doll.
Wow.
And so I made her a doll, and it looked like Frankenstein's monster, just one long arm, one short arm. It was an absolute mess. But the more I got into it and I connected with other Black doll artists, the more I realized that this is kind of what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I started taking technique classes and just molding my dolls to what I would have wanted as a kid.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Well, they are absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, Monda, when you walked onto the set, I said, who brought babies with them to the television show? That's not what we normally do here, but these are, of course, dolls.
These are dolls. These are reborn dolls. And what a reborn doll is, it is a lifelike baby. So they're made with so much realism that they'll deceive your own eyes. They are actually weighted to feel like babies. This one here has a cloth body, so it's a little lighter, but it's for more posable, and I do everything painted by hand. They have rooted eyelashes, and they can also have fully anatomically correct bodies. So depending on if you want a little boy or a little girl, if you would like her with painted hair or rooted hair or bald even, and you know, they can be specifically customized to look like you, you know, or someone that you love.
I was going to say, do you have people who want you to recreate their children? Or?
Absolutely, absolutely. And they have to have this birthmark right here because, you know, she had that birthmark right there. So, you know, and that's what's so amazing, because they can be customized to look like you, to look like you, to look like me. And I love that.
Wow.
I love that.
How did you get into doll making?
Oh my goodness, I'm already creative. I'm a cosmetologist, so when I just found something else that was so unique, I'm like, wow, I want to make that.
I want to do this,
I want to do this. And I'm a licensed CENA too. I'm a hospice aide. So they're very therapeutic for the patients also. So not only for kids or for adults, they're also good for seniors also. So just people of all ages, not just women, men and boys included, can still have fun with their dollies. So
Did you have any dolls like this when you were a kid? There was nothing like that, right?
There was absolutely nothing like this, nothing like this. And I even was trying to, you know, we would create our dolls and try to, you know, give them our own personal touches and put fingernail polish on them, just to, you know, give them your own little connecting to your doll. But now you can actually have a doll and you can work with your artists so they can be customized to what you want.
Talk about some of the things people will learn when they come to the doll show.
Of course, they'll get, you can participate with a ton of workshops, head wraps, doll workshops, of course, arts and crafts, and we have the Sky Princess movie that's going to be shown there as well. So we have a full fledged program. And then I wanted to show you this doll before we go. She is a Brains by Beauty doll, Malaya, and she talks. She does 20.
See, this is where I go, you know, cross the line with the dolls. I don't like dolls that talk.
But
what did she say?
But she says you're creative. So she says 20 different things for girls to be inspired. You're
really
deserving.
Cool.
So this is pretty cool for self-esteem building.
So you know, one of the things that strikes me about this show is also that it sort of reinforces the idea that dolls are not just for kids and maybe not just for girls either.
No, we have boys that attend. We have men that attend. We have men who collect dolls as well as women. And of course, children love dolls as well. So yeah, we have some themes for boys on the program too. We have Otis Bellinger, who will be doing a workshop for boys. So the whole entire family can come out on November the 9th from 11 to 7 p.m. at the Northwest Activity Center at 18100 Myers Road.
Yeah. Right, great place and a great show, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks for being here and congratulations.
Thank you. 8 years, growing strong, and we have some phenomenal doll artists on board. We have over 30 vendors this year, so we are very excited.
Wow. All right, that's our program for today. Go to AmericanBlackJournal.org for more information on our guests, and you can check out past episodes. Plus, you can always connect with us on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll see you next time.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
The DTE Foundation proudly supports 50 years of American Black Journal in covering African American history, culture, and politics. The DTE Foundation and American Black Journal, partners in presenting African American perspectives about our communities and in our world.
Also brought to you by Ally, Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.